My name is Stephen Hawes, the founder and CEO of Opulo, and this is the July 2026 Opulo Company Update. Opulo is an open source hardware company making the Lumen PNP, a desktop pick and place machine used for automatically assembling electronic components onto circuit boards. The Lumen PNP is meant for assembling PCBs at a wide range of production scales, anywhere from just a handful of boards for a quick prototyping run, all the way up to production of a few thousand units a year, like we do here, using the Lumen PNP to make boards that go into the Lumen PNP, literally building its own boards. As always, this video goes along with the blog post on our website, so if you're watching here on YouTube, there's a link in the description where you can follow along there. This past June was one of the craziest months that we've had here at Opulo so far. A lot of stuff happened that I haven't been that quiet about leading up to. A lot of stuff actually finally came out last month. Right now, we're in a pretty pivotal point in the company where we're taking a very big next step into growth and changing structure about how we handle a lot of that. A lot more people interested in engaging with our hardware, which is really, really cool. Very exciting. Very stoked to be working on this. But anyway, as always, we will start off with our lead times. In every one of these updates, I've gone on and on about how we're working on doing these things to bring our lead time down, but I've been saying the same thing many months in a row, and our lead time for lumens and feeders has been mostly the same. There's been some fluctuation, but we haven't actually moved the needle on that yet. And instead of just giving the same line of, hey, we're working on it to try and bring it down, I figured I'd give you all a little bit more context as to why and what is actually going on. For a little less than the past year, my number one to number two main focus for the company has been bringing our lead time down, which is a pretty big bummer to say because nothing has changed in that regard, and that's been a huge focus for me for the past almost 12 months. What has been happening is that we have been doing a ton of stuff to try and bring the lead time down. We moved to a whole new office. I've hired a ton of people. We made stuff way easier to put together. The problem is these things that we've been working on to try and bring lead time down are not happening faster than our growth rate. And every time we put a huge thing in place to really make things go faster, then our volume increases and we are back to square one on getting it to be same day. We need to be getting ahead and not just keeping up. And I have to say, this is a great problem to have. This is a wonderful thing. I'm not complaining at all. This is stellar. The fact that we are doing all these things and demand continues to keep up with that is a very hard problem to solve, but it's a great problem to have. So that's great, but I'd still like to solve this problem. I think I have been thinking much too linearly about how to go about solving this problem when I really need a little bit more of an exponential curve in how I act and react to what is happening with our volume in order to really make an appreciable change in our lead time. We now have plenty of space. That was a huge bottleneck for months of this past year, was just having the space be able to grow. Now that we are in a much bigger space, we have plenty of inventory in-house ready to build the stuff. What we need is help, and a lot more than I was originally thinking about hiring. A really interesting thing with lead times is once you bring it down, a higher percentage of people will now buy your product. If a higher rate than normal is buying your product, then it is harder to keep up with that, and then you typically will slide back to your old lead time. It's almost like a self-regulating thing. My hesitation on hiring a lot more people is really wanting to be sure that I have a job for these people. I don't want to be casual about hiring decisions. I want to hire when I know I have the work for that person. But fundamentally, when you bring more people on and the lead time goes down, your demand will go up. You will just have more people that will decide to pull the trigger on a purchase when it's the same week lead time, same day lead time, as opposed to 4 weeks. A lot of stuff I've been thinking about recently, and as a result, we're going to be hiring a lot more assembly techs here in our Pittsburgh office. It is very clear we need a lot more help for any reasonable change to happen with this. That being said, if you're in the Pittsburgh area and you'd like to help us build open hardware, build pick and place machines going all over the world, please apply. careers.opulo.io is the best place to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. But I wanted to explain a little bit because I have been feeling quite a bit like a broken record. Every time I get on to make one of these videos, I say effectively the same thing. And I've realized kind of the folly in some of that and what I need to do to actually make a change in how quickly we can get stuff out to people. In the meantime, however, if you go to a product's product page, there is a listed lead time on that page. That is the most accurate way to measure when something will come in from us. That's actually what we use in our whole internal system for figuring out what we need to build when. That's how we decide when we need to ship it out to you. So when in doubt, just check the product page and whatever's listed there is the real and true lead time. Some things are shipping a little faster than others. Lumens without feeders are shipping a little faster than lumens with feeders. But in general, we're just a bit ahead of what we have externally put on all the product pages. we like to give ourselves a little bit of a buffer. So it's usually a little faster than what you see, but we put it on there just to be safe and give ourselves as much buffer as we think we'll need. All right, next up, 16 and 24 millimeter feeders. If you haven't seen it yet, we have launched our 16 and 24 millimeter feeders. Launch was a couple weeks ago now, I think, and it went great. We did sell out pretty quickly of the stock that we had pre-built, but we have a lot of inventory in the mail and we are like very, very close, hopefully maybe within a week or so, depending on when some stock arrives, that we'll be able to bring the lead time down on those quite a bit and get those moving out the door pretty quickly. So thank you to everyone that supported us on launch day and shortly thereafter, pulling the trigger on some of these. We're really excited about them. We're really, really stoked. So if you haven't seen them yet, go check it out. I'll put a link in the description and the blog post. Hand in hand with that is the reel holder, which we also announced a couple weeks ago and has started shipping. Not too much to say about this that I haven't already said in one of these updates, but it is now available. You can buy it on our web store, and it makes reel management for a Lumen much easier. It's a good quality of life improvement. But those are also now available, ready to go out the door. All right, next up is Viagrid and the paste extruder. So now that these new products have gone out the door, feeder loading station, reel holder, and 16 and 24 millimeter feeders, we're looking out to new things that we're working on now or old things that we want to add an update to. If some of y'all remember in previous episodes of this and also in some videos on my channel, I talked about this standardized format of making PCBs very quickly called Viagrid. And the general premise is you get a blank PCB, but it has a predefined array of vias already embedded in it. And you buy it this way from the PCB manufacturer, and you keep like 100 of them at your lab, at your EE bench. And then using a UV laser, a specific kind of DPSS UV laser, you can actually ablate or like laze away the copper. This is very similar to how you would do it with, acid etching or even CNC milling. But because there are vias already embedded in the board, when you design the layout, you get real honest to goodness vias baked into the board for free. The only concession is that you have to design around where the vias already are. So you can only drop a via in your design software where they already are in the template. I was pretty worried about this being a pain in the butt. It's functionally pretty usable for most stuff that you're gonna try and prototype. You're not gonna be making a single board computer on this yet, but it's a fantastic prototyping tool and I've been using it a ton internally. I love it. It's a really cool system. I made a video about this months ago now, and the community took it and ran with it. Thank you, Maddie, in particular, owning a lot of this and doing a lot of really cool dev work with it. And so I've gotten some of these new designs in the mail that folks have been working on, and I'm now going through and trying to figure out what the workflow looks like, especially in KiCad to start. What is the workflow for actually getting the design into the laser software and cutting this correctly? What are the settings to use for this? I'm actually waiting on a couple parts to come in for my laser right now, but once I have that in, I'm gonna be able to really get cooking on a lot of this and start really laying out a process that I can recommend to people for how to go about making boards like this. I'm really excited about it. It really feels like a cheat code being able to do this and make a board in 90 minutes. It's wild. It's so cool. Now, Viagrid also gets quite a bit more useful when you don't need a stencil. If you have a stencil that you need to also cut out, well, you have a laser, and if you can find some good materials to work with this UV DPSS laser for doing a stencil, that's fine, and you can stencil it up. But the paste extruder that we've had available for the Lumen PNP for, gosh, I don't know, maybe a year and a half now, getting that to the point where it is perfect for 0402 pads, that feels like a really, really nice thing to add into this kind of whole PCB prototyping pipeline. We actually have our first engineering intern that started here just a few days ago, and his main first project is working on getting the paste extruder reliable down to 0402 pads. This means you can have a Viagrid design, drop it in the laser, cut it over the course of 50, 60 minutes, put it into the Lumen, put paste on there, populate your parts, reflow it, and like hour and a half. That's kind of like the big goal in my mind is I want 90 minutes design finished, you're putting the blank into the laser till you have a finished thing coming out of the reflow oven, hour and a half. So we have a lot of things kind of cooking in the works in order to facilitate that happening right now. Okay, last up is our job postings. I said this at the top, but oh man, are we looking for people. If you're excited about what we're doing here, and especially if you live in the Pittsburgh area, please check out our careers page. Again, it's careers.opulo.io. I would love to hear from you, hear what you're excited about, why you'd like to work here, what you'd like to do here. We have 4 job postings open right now that I'm gonna go over quickly. Assembly technician. These are the folks who on the actual production line are building feeders, building Lumen PNPs, building accessories, packing up orders, getting the stuff built, giving feedback to engineering about what needs to change, what could be better described in our onboarding documentation or our assembly documentation, helping us make this stuff as well as we possibly can. This is an in-person Pittsburgh role, so if you're living in the area or would like to live in Pittsburgh, It's a great city, I love it here. Please apply, careers.opulo.io. Second up is our customer service specialist. This is helping with responding to the volume of tickets that we get in through our customer support page. Most of this is responding to customer inquiries, which is mostly people asking what hardware do they actually need to get going with it, needing help with a quote, that kind of stuff. Most of it is people trying to figure out what exactly they need to accomplish their goal. We still do get some customer support tickets, people that want a hand getting going and getting their machine up and running, but nowadays the vast majority of it is people trying to figure out what hardware will work for them. And so helping them, getting them a quote, helping them figure out what parts can it populate, what's in your bill of materials, all that kind of stuff. All right, third up is our social media manager and video editor. This is a role I'm incredibly excited about. It is effectively taking all of the backlog of content that me and everyone here has ever shot that we have meticulously recorded in a huge NAS of like 26 terabytes. All of that footage is a huge reservoir of stuff that we can do to show people what we've built here and what we're working on. There's also a ton of new stuff happening here every single day that would be really cool to show the world that right now our current staff just does not have the time to facilitate doing. Also, there's a lot of videos like these that I still edit myself, and I would love some help in the video production category, being able to take some of that load off, and especially someone who's quite a bit better at video editing than I am, to be able to do that for the company. This job is a lot of video editing. It's actually going and shooting a lot of footage, coming up with ideas for the social media calendar, putting together creative ideas for stuff that we can do to show people how the machine works and how it might be useful to them, and also going on site to customer locations and shooting testimonial videos, which, by the way, if you haven't seen, we also put out 2 testimonial videos with 2 customers of the Lumen 2 weeks ago. Really exciting. We've had these in the works for like maybe about a year, trying to get all of the scheduling and all the logistics around these set up. So if you want to go check them out, I'll put a link in the description as well and the blog post so you can go see them. All right, lastly is an integration engineer, full stack engineering. Especially now with these 3 new products out the door and shipping, we are turning our sights towards new projects, and that is very much what this role is looking to serve. So the ideal candidate for this is someone who has software, electrical, and hardware experience, mechanical engineering design, electrical, and computer science, the whole stack, like being able to make a widget yourself. Ideally, desktop software and embedded as well is super important. This person has very high agency with a very broad prompt and being able to figure out what needs to be done in order to solve the goal we all have. There is a lot of big engineering stuff ahead of us that we're looking to tackle, and I want someone who is excited to jump in and kick some butt. Also, if you're excited about what we do here and you think you could contribute in some meaningful way, please apply. You can just go to our careers page and apply to the job that you think most closely aligns with what you think you could contribute the most here. We go through every single application, and if we think someone would be a better fit for one job or another one, or even someone that might be a good fit for a job that we don't actually have a posting for, we make it happen. Actually, our current intern reached out in this exact way. We were not planning on having an intern this summer, but he was a great fit, so we decided to go ahead with it. If you're excited about what you do, you want to contribute, please reach out. I would love to hear from you. Okay, that's it for this one. If you have any questions about this format, the stuff I talked about in this video, other stuff you'd like to hear in these videos moving forward, please don't hesitate to leave a comment on this YouTube video, or you can reach out to us at support.opulo.io and send us a message. Also, if this is your first time here, or if you've been here for a while and haven't yet, please subscribe. We post a whole bunch of stuff here about the Lumen PNP, other stuff we're doing to try and make PCBA more accessible and faster to build for either prototyping or production. So if you're interested in that stuff, make sure you get subscribed. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful July, and I'll see you next month.